So in this video, I'm going to talk about the P1 criteria from the checklist and guide you to some materials that might help you with this criteria and improving the documentation of your evidence for this in your folio. P1 is all about refining your research question. What's really important is that you remember that refinement process for many of you continued throughout the project. So even though we did planning pages back in term 1 and we looked at them as an initial document, a really strong folio is going to then reflect on how that continual development happened throughout the outcome, as well as the research folio. And so that gives you an opportunity to really reflect on things and go back to your folio and add to it. So I would recommend for some of you, if you're trying to enhance this grade, to go back to our materials that we had back in booklet 6, which was planning the research project, and have a look at some of the activities you were asked to do, and then have a look at some of the criteria that we provided to you at this time about what really strong evidence would look like. And so by working your way through these activities, you can actually check that you've met this criteria to the highest standard. You don't need to include every single activity, but you do want to show a range of different criteria. So you can see, this is an example of some of the activities that were done. You might not have every single one of them, that's okay. You can look into the ones that were relevant to you and reflect upon how that helped in the development of your question. The P1 criteria as well, for it to be in that really high level, we need that explicit ongoing evidence. So we want to see, as I was finding out my information from this website, I discovered my question didn't make sense, or I found new search criteria, or I decided to chop out a focus question. All of those things need to explain to us that journey. And to avoid it being recount, what we need is for you to actually say, this happened, i.e., I cut a focus question, why it happened, i.e., it was no longer relevant, and then why this decision was made. So why was it no longer relevant? Maybe you found some academic research that prompted your thinking. Maybe you realized that it was a background question that didn't really need to be addressed. Maybe you discovered that the other questions were way more complicated, etc. So this criteria is really about getting into your question and thinking about how you've developed it, okay? If you want to do this well, you're going to show that you've got a range of perspectives, that it's continued throughout the process of your research, and it's going to be really detailed. So lots of reflections. A really good thing to do is to add back to the pages. Did things happen the way you imagined? Was there new things that came up? What did you miss originally? Okay, so P1, again, go back to your, wrong one, booklet 6, and have a look at all those different activities that we asked you to go through. Breadth is as important as depth, okay? So make sure that you're picking ones that are relevant.